Rob Roberts, welcome to Virginia.
Oh, man, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
appreciate you being here. Yes, sir.
Thank you to Benelli for getting you here too.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna, for anybody listening that doesn't know about who Rob Roberts is,
They'll
shame on
find
you.
out here in a minute.
They're gonna find out. Though.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Put some education on them.
A lot of public records, probably.
Yeah.
But,
That's right.
So don't believe all that.
So Andrew and I, we've always talked about, man, if we could get inside of that guy's head,
Sure.
there's no telling what
If we can get around all the void space, we might learn something, and they might pick up something.
There's just a little bit that ain't void, though.
That's right. Well, cool. What's your deal? How do you start being how do you turn your name into a brand? How do you get tied in with Benelli? Where do you start working on guns?
Grace of God, actually,
Okay.
honestly. I mean, and I don't mean to go there on that, but without that, it wouldn't, because I actually started the company. I had $248, and one kid starting college and one starting high school. And it's like, this ain't good.
Damn.
But,
You got to start somewhere.
I've never been real smart, but
There
I've
you
never
go.
been scared.
There you go.
And no, we started in on what we did, and basically to kind of make a come around of it, I'd been into the sporting clays, skeet, trap market, stuff like that, dealing with those shooters all the time. I was never that shooter, but I was with world's champion, national champions, and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so I picked up on what they liked, what they did, what was going on with it, where.
What time frame you in?
And
What 80s, 90s?
90s.
90s. Okay.
Starting in 90s.
So
right
like
there.
the Dan Carlisle era, the
yeah,
Wendell Cherry
absolutely.
era.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No Wendell Will and all.
Yeah.
I knew all them guys.
Yeah.
And it was the Doug Fuller and them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just all them guys back then. But once I'd worked with ballistics down there for a long time. Did that, so I was on the road with them and doing stuff like that. And a few of our guys got there, and then. But as it went on, it was like, no, it's time to do this the way I want to do things.
Now
And
that
it was
you
like,
fully understand it from the inside.
but what I wanted to do is I wanted to take all that stuff that we were doing on the competition side into the hunting market, because my first thing was I'd like to make $5 out of every licensed turkey hunter in the state of Arkansas, because there was actually as many licensed hunters in the little state of Arkansas as there was like trap and skeet shooters.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so as that grew, and so I started off on the turkey side, which is what I knew the most of. I grew up, on the hillbilly side there, so I was always deer and turkeys was natural, and ducks, being from Arkansas and everything, was really not where I was at to start with. It's what I got into, and I kept trying not to, because I knew I'd turn into what I've done.
That would consume you.
Oh,
Yeah.
it just eats you up now. But at that point, I wanted to, just like doing the forcing cone work and stuff like that on guns, guys in the hunting market never really knew what any of that meant. You go to a sporting clay shooter and say, hey, he'll walk in and say, I want to do this, this, this. I want my stuck, I want this,
Right.
I want, this is what I want. Well, your hunters didn't understand that.
Sure.
And so when
They
when
never
it
needed
went
to.
off, and it hit, because it was one of those things, especially on the turkey side, when we started growing and getting some of that redneck technology that we got with our computerized machines and everything, we're going, okay, we're not lying, here it is.
Sure.
It's kind of like, and we'll probably get to that, but it's kind of like this new Raptor choke that we come out. It's not a gimmick. It's not something, almost 30 years before we come out with a different choke.
Sure. They're not made up numbers.
No.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is those machines allowed us to do that. So we were taking, I had guys hitting up there, do I need to spend this kind of money on ammo and stuff like that? Well, you can. It's good
Sure.
stuff.
Sure.
It's good stuff. But when you do this stuff to the gun, you're trying to make sure that you run out of your ammo. And, hey, what do you got? Well, I got old Federal blue box here, the cheap stuff. And I'm going to say, hand me some. And you're killing.
You're still okay.
It works great.
Correct.
And
But you don't have it tuned to the choke where, should I run out of Winchester, the Federal is going to be just as good with the way you run your product. It's not like a specialized
part
per
of what
brand.
we've seen was just like because of the sporting clays and stuff like that, you was looking into, well, you said Wendell Cherry a while ago. Okay, Wendell was shooting Perazzi's back then, and Wendell would come in and he was shooting fixed chokes. He didn't want choke tubes. He wanted that to be, like 37 thousandths on the top barrel and 32 thousandths on the bottom, or whatever it was. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
I think I'm pretty close.
He's light full and full,
Yeah, he was shooting tight.
Yep.
And so at that point, that's what he knew, because he knew with the bore diameters and stuff of that gun. And so when I come out originally with the T-Series, I I mean, I don't know. I think, a little bit crazy. I might have been drinking or something that time. I don't know. I just come out with this thing. I had a bad dream or whatever
That's right.
it was. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to change it. I didn't want the hunter to come in and go, okay, I need improved cylinder for lead. Oh, I also need improved cylinder for ducks.
Sure.
No, you need one choke. But when you find out what that gun likes, and most guns will like, being here with these Benellis that we're doing right now, our T2 was the choke. You could buy 25, we'll say all of them. But really, that's the gun it likes because they had small bores, and that's what it liked.
Yep.
Let's jump from them. Let's go to, let's say, a Browning. So now you got a bigger bore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what you find out is a lot of those bigger bores either want the open choke or a super tight choke. There's that mid-range really don't work as good in that.
Okay.
And the reason why a lot of that is because nobody ever takes, and you shouldn't have to. We've always tried to, and this has always been something that's made us been successful. I'm sitting here and telling you how that worked, but we would take into consideration the bore diameter. So if you had a Benelli with a small bore,
Is it 729 bore?
No, 721.
Okay,
I mean, some
really
of them might
tight.
be, I was saying 718, 19.
Really tight bore.
But let's go
Okay.
down to, let's make it for easy math. If you had a 725, okay, and that's the large size for a Benelli bore, and you took what we would call the T2 choke, which is like a light modified, which is 15 thousandths
It should be
constriction.
710.
Okay, so you're at 710. If you went to a Browning, and for good math, 740 bore, and you put 15 thousandths,
There
you're
it's
at
725. Yep.
So you're not apples to apples.
Sure.
So to say, hey, I want a light mod for this, and I want a light mod in my Benelli, and I want a light mod in my Browning, you're not on the same way.
Two different animals. Yeah.
So you take like our T3 series, which is like a light full 30 thousandths constriction. You do the math. There's your 710 again. So
Okay.
we would have guys come in
Okay.
and say, "What are we shooting?" Well, you're shooting a Benelli. You need a T2. You're shooting a Browning. You need a T3.
For the same performance, same
That's
applied
it.
performance.
That-
Okay.
that's it.
Makes
So
perfect sense.
It was actually nobody, on the turkey side of things, everybody wants 650, 655, 660, whatever the case may be. They always had a number, but there's never been a number on other than fixed choke, like a window
Right.
or somebody like
Sure.
that comes in and says, "Hey, I want 732."
I want
or
29
whatever.
thousandths and all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I said 730, but a 32 thousandths or whatever. So what we did the triple threat series on that effect is it wasn't the same number on a Benelli as it was a Beretta or a Remington or
Sure.
whatever, Super X2, or 3 or 4, whatever. We kind of did the math for you, so to speak.
Sure.
So that's why, and that went off, and then now we've come up with this Raptor series of choke, and it wasn't as a gimmick. Everybody wanted a ported choke, and we've been hit for it. I never liked a ported choke because I didn't like the wad stripping part of it. And what I learned is by shooting into the computers all the time, and actually before that, the tighter you get, the more noticeable the point of impact. So if you're shooting and you got a wad stripper, and we're shooting shotguns now, so that wad might catch on this side, that side, or this.
Yeah.
So I got OCD, and I'm kind of perfectionist on that end of it. If I notice that the point of impact might move 2 or 3 inches this shot, it might be a little lower, might be a little higher doing that, and it's like, okay, it's moving around. And we always notice that with a ported choke. Now, the good side to a ported choke is it's pulling the wad back to let the shot.
Correct.
So
Takes the stress
yeah.
off the shot. Yep.
Sure.
And so, there was a plus to it, but I'd rather know that it was shooting straight. And plus, on the turkey side, I was wanting to shoot longer anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so that's
The middle's
how
the
it-
middle. Cannot
that's
deny
how
the
it
middle.
started,
Yep.
yeah. And so as this went on, we got into coming down, and we started doing. I was telling you earlier that I do a lot of gator hunting. I kill a lot of alligators. I just love it. I don't
Sure.
catch them on a string. I like shooting in long,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long
200-300
range gator
yards,
hunting.
and I like that.
That's
stuff.
my kind of hunting.
Yeah, I like
and
it.
they're a really cool animal.
Yeah.
It's a predator.
Sure.
I like something that wants to eat you back.
Sure.
But as I left there one time, I was in South Carolina. I was
Like
coming
like
back,
hunting something that might eat them. I like it.
and one guy comes and he goes, "Why don't you?" He said, "I noticed on your truck, I have a truck and it's got turkey tracks all over here.
Yeah.
Here's ducks and there's geese or whatever." And he's like, "I don't see no gators." I said, "Well, we don't make gator chokes. That's not it." So I've got a 12.5-hour ride back, and I'm thinking, but we probably need a gator choke.
Sure.
Not necessarily to shoot gators with, But we've always had the public wanting us to put a ported choke together, so here we'll make it look like bite marks.
There you go.
Okay, that's how this all started. Well, we would take a choke, we come up with a new design, we tested all these parallel sections that we put in there, and we always found we'd come back to a 1-inch parallel sections, what we put in our chokes. And for anybody that don't know what that is, it's the actual constriction for a 1-inch. I'm flopping all over the place on you here, but
No,
That's
but
all
if
right.
you have a
If
3-inch
you-
choke tube, it's putting it at that 715 or 710 for 1 inch.
if you took an hourglass and you flip it upside down, I'm showing like people listening can see me doing this. I flip it upside down, and as the sand goes through that spout, it spreads.
Sure.
If you take that spout, not any bigger around in diameter or any smaller, but you lengthen it out, you notice that sand holds
Yep.
together just like on a pattern.
Right.
But what we found was if it goes too far, then you're just it hits that one little spot. Once it
Okay.
hits that spot, that's where it's at. And quite frankly, an inch to inch and an eighth's where it
That's the
always
sweet
is.
spot.
That's the sweet spot
Yeah.
on what we build. Okay.
Right. Sure.
So we went back to that. We made the head longer, and then we were going to put these ports. We're going to port these holes so that they look like a gator bit them, and they can be like gator bites.
Sure.
Or all, I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time we ported it, we'd take the choke, go shoot it, come back in, port it, go out, and we'd lose 20, 30 pellets out of the court every time. So we tried it. We tried elliptical lines. We tried all kinds of designs, straight holes, all kinds of stuff. And as we did that, we kept losing core. And I said, all right, we're going back to where
Going
we
back to
got
what
here.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, we're going back to this. So what we ended up doing is we put the lines on it, and as God, it's like, well, it's no longer a gator. But I mean, what kills ducks, turkeys, and all these birds and everything else is raptors.
There you go.
And there's other people that have that name out there, but we just incorporated the brand of the double R's
Sure.
into it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's how we come up with it. But we still want to make it different than what we already got, because at the end of the day, we're not here to screw folks over.
Sure.
It's like, hey, we're going to tell you straight up, and there it is.
Sure.
And so what we got
Like you
into-
said, there's a 20-some year gap between old chokes and new chokes.
Yeah,
So
it's,
it's time to make the change and time to
well,
move with it.
Kind of,
Sure,
yeah.
sure.
But at the same point, I wanted to try something, because clear back in the old days, in the 1800s, I studied up a little bit of this, which, yes, I can read a little bit, not much.
This isn't 1800s
yeah,
firsthand
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
This
right.
is
Yeah,
this is on
Well,
text.
it's almost
That's
that.
right.
I'm close.
That's right.
But at that point, we were talking about scuffed chokes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had a buddy of mine that was in the industry for a long time. He shot. He was an excellent shooter, and he knows all the same people we were talking about earlier. And I said, I want you to do something. And we used a Benelli gun. We took a factory Benelli gun, took a improved cylinder choke out of it, stuck it in a rubber jawed vise. I said, give him a rat tail file. I said, all right, now just go crazy, just scuffing the inside of this. And he's like, have you lost your mind? Well, let me back up. I overdid it. First off, I made him go out into our machine and shoot 10 different shots through it,
Through that one choke.
Okay.
through that one
Yep.
choke. Then I brought the choke in. Then we scuffed the whole inside of it out. He went out, did 10 more. We got 10.1% denser patterns.
But
After.
with the scuffs.
With the
all
scuffs.
I said, proves my point. He goes, well, you've lost your mind. He said, what are you? He said, what are you thinking here? And I said, I just been kind of studying up on this stuff, and I found out that,
Using scuffs as a wad stripper.
just not really a wad stripper. Wad strippers are too much. It was just a tug.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, but now the only way that you could put this on, let me back up again. He said, well, if you got 10% pattern, then just jump from an improved cylinder to a modified. He said, simple. I said, okay, think of that. But, okay, now take your turkey choke. You take your gun out there, and your choke, let's, for argument, 660 is what your choke, that's the choke. When you shoot a 655, it opened up. When you go to 665, it opens up. 660 is what your gun likes.
Sure.
Now add 10% to it.
Correct.
I said, so it will work.
You've already got your baseline, and you're
And-
making your
and already-
baseline better. Yep.
So
Yeah.
what we found when we got into the duck side of thing, and we were going in there just like we were talking about earlier, like on a Benelli using that T2 choke,
Yep.
that's what that gun likes. So now we take that same constriction and we come up with this, I call it a Tula cut. It's
yeah.
not, that's not,
A step type cut or a scuff or something like that.
Well, I tried every way in the world. We tried knurling, because you have to make it mechanically alike every
Concentric,
time.
yeah.
You got to
Alike.
make it so you have it, you got it, I got
Sure.
it, he's got it, you can make it. So we tried every way in the world to pull that off, and it wasn't working. We went back and forth. We went to what I call a Tula cut, which is, it's just a cut in it, but it's completely all the way around. So you're going to get that tug on the wad no matter which way it turns.
No,
you're going to have
or
that
how it
tug.
spins. Yep.
And so that's what we come up with on this is we moved it to here, to here, to here. We spent about 3 months just going back, shooting, coming back, shooting.
And this is a game of thousands too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's monotonous.
And so, it hit a home run. It just
Nice.
It hit, and so those chokes actually come in, and what we're finding is the cores are so steady on them. But once again, you don't necessarily. I mean, we build them for TSS, we build them for bismuth, turkey chokes. We build, and the one thing we did find is when we went into the turkey side, before we'd run 640, 650, 655, 660, 665, 670, 675, and 12 gauge, for example.
Yeah.
680 and 690 on the Mossberg stuff.
Yeah.
And
the
so
big
we
boys,
had
yeah.
all these different SKUs of this choke, and it was like, no, when we did this to it, we would have won. And so that was a key. So
Yeah.
we set out there and we would take a Benelli, we would take a Remington, we'd take a Browning, we'd take a Super X4, and it's like, where's it at? And we hit it.
Perfected for that thread
And
pitch
so
and
what
that
we do
bore.
is we don't start telling everybody, here's what you do. You just need the Raptor turkey for your turkey. And then when we got on ducks, we still do the 1, 2, 3, because you can shoot them for everything. And then we did a bismuth choke, and we tested all the different bismuths with it. And, of course, we took bismuth a lot tighter than everybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
And it works better that way. And we take TSS a lot tighter
Tighter
than
than
it
most, yeah.
We really do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And,
But you get the most out of your shell, and the most out of your gun, and the most out of your choke.
But at the end of the day, we're also wanting to build a gun and stuff like that you don't have to spend $100 a box for shells.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Doing a lot of work
And
for you.
You don't. I mean,
Correct.
I don't use them, and I duck hunt all the time.
Sure.
It's one of those things we try to find out. So, and that's one of the services we do for customers and stuff like that. Just like some of these Benelli performance shop guns, that was stuff. We'd do all this work, and then we'd go out and shoot and make sure they was doing it, make sure the patterns were there and that type of stuff.
Sure.
And so that's, we do that for customers. So that's kind of where we've gotten to with it.
Good.
And then I guess our latest thing that's really exploded was, everybody does hydrographics and all that stuff. So we dip everybody's stuff. And then we started doing some Cerakote in between, and then it got to being completely Cerakote because a lot of people could be, like for me, I will do it all because if I'm hunting with guys that are Mossy Oak guys, or if I'm hunting with Real True guys, or if I'm over here with Safety guys
Sure.
or Neck Gear guys
Sure.
or whatever, I'm politically correct with the gun because it's so
Yeah.
good,
That's right.
And some guys get into that situation.
Absolutely.
So that helps on that
Sure.
also.
Yeah.
Sure.
If we were to back up for a sec, let's just say you're talking to a beginner for getting into hunting with a shotgun. It could be waterfowl, turkey, even buckshot. Because Virginia,
This is
big
buckshot
shotgun state,
area, yeah.
buckshot
Oh,
state,
yeah.
Cool.
big time. And a lot of people, it's easy for me or Andrew to kind of just somewhat explain, hey, this is how chokes work.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a science to it at the same time. But there's also an easier explanation to say, hey, all right, this is. And coming from you, I would say I'd love to hear your basic, simple explanation of how choke tubes work.
Well, you can go back in and go into the science of it where you got to have a such and such pattern at this and that. Now, my idea of the perfect choke is having a 40-yard gun. I'd like to find out what my gun likes at 40 yards. If it's closer, I better be on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if it's farther, you still will kill
Sure.
at times. But, and like I said, so it's usually the mid-range is what we find that goes in. Now, some of your smaller gauges, like the 28 gauge is a monster gun right now.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I've been preaching on it for 3 or 4 years. As this
28 gauge to me is
just awesome
perfect.
gun. Oh, it is
Because
awesome gun.
it's the right amount of shot for its length and width. It's a square load. It hammers whatever you shoot. It's
and
perfect.
you tighten it down quite a bit.
Yep.
But I think at the end of the day, go back to that old what we were talking about. Some of them other guys is take that worry out of your head. Find out which one you're like. So just like I said, most of the time they can call the shop and go, all right, I'm going to start in. What do I need to do this gun? Well, if whatever, like I said, we're here with Benelli on this point right here. So
Yeah.
let's say I just bought a new Benelli. What do I need to do? First and foremost, we're going to lengthen and polish the forcing cone and stick a T2 in this thing for all your wing shooting, whether you're dove hunting, whether you're going here and there.
Ducks, geese, big ducks.
Turkeys is different. Turkeys is, you
Yeah.
need turkey joke.
It's his own game.
But on the other side, because that's what that gun likes, and don't worry about having 25 different chokes. But the idea is, unfortunately, there's a lot of choke tube companies out there that are just putting in something to satisfy the guy that wants to change chokes.
Right.
And then there are, and when you get with some of the more real guys in the industry, and I'm not naming names, I'm not trying to hurt nobody, and I'm not trying to tell you
Sure.
we're the smartest and everybody else is stupid. That's not the thing.
There's plenty of market for everybody.
Exactly.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you'll find out some of these guys are going, hey, look, this is what you need. You're duck hunting, you try this choke. And but we're going, like I said, our deal was like all of our T series and everything. That's all 17.4 pH stainless heat treated chokes. So it's shoot it all through it.
Sure.
If you want to shoot buckshot through
Yeah.
it.
Right.
That's
So
I'm
I
scared
mean,
of that.
because for some, it's I guess chokes. People make chokes more difficult than they really should be.
Yes, absolutely.
And like you said, 40 yards is about your max. Zero. I mean, that's your sweet spot on pattern, and that's just about for anything if you think about it. Whether you're shooting buckshot or steel shot or turkey
I tell
loose.
guys 35 to 40 yards. Then if he's at 60, you times 1.5. If you're at 20, you take 50% off. So at 20, you'll have a volleyball. At 40, you got your ideal pattern, and at 60, you can expect to lose maybe a third of your pattern. You're gonna lose some pellet somewhere.
One of the
It's
most
just gonna happen.
crucial things that folks don't do with shotgun is they assume right off that it shoots straight.
They don't pattern them. They don't
It's
shoot
like,
paper.
I look right down
Correct.
the sights, and I look down the mid bead, and I seen that, and I lined them up.
You were looking at a whole bunch of other stuff than what you're shooting at.
First off, knock the mid bead off it.
Correct. Correct. See, I keep
Throw
him,
that
I
out.
keep him mid bead, knock your front bead off.
Yeah.
I like that's where the dove goes. You know,
Yeah.
put them right there.
They, we deal with stuff like on the high vis comp site, for example. We put on all those guns, and does. The good side to that is it's not for aiming purposes. It's kind of letting you know
It's a reference.
subconscious where your barrel's at.
It's there. Yeah.
Right.
It kind of lets you know where that's at.
Sure.
Both eyes open, get the gun,
Sure.
shoot where you need to be.
So your beginning of your machinist career, you were a clay shooter, and still are a clay shooter.
Yeah, and see, that's
So
another thing.
that's your sight picture before you call pull, and when you call pull, it goes away. It's gone forever.
And
Same on a duck.
And I tell people that all the time because they always go into the machining side of it because most gun guys, gunsmiths, and everything are big time
Trained machinist. Yeah.
No, I'm not. We got 'em. I always did that, and I wasn't. And it was one of those things that went into it. And it was kind of like on Days of Thunder when he walked in and he goes, "Hey, you got to tell me, is that car loose? Is it tight?
Yeah.
Is it?" And then he
Correct.
goes,
I don't
I
know.
don't know what you're talking about. I just know.
I was thinking about that movie yesterday.
He said, "I'm
yeah.
a driver."
Correct.
And so that's what I said. I was a driver on it. I knew what I wanted out of these guns. And you go in and go, "Hey, look, this is what I need." Just like our slammer buttons and stuff like that. I want this thing to come in and do here, here, here. What can we do? And
Right.
then, and like I said, we got 3 guys there in the
And
shop.
they speak
That's all they
machine.
do is-
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah. We
yeah.
got the CNCs and everything
Yep.
set up. And
They
they're like,
understand
I
it.
want to do that. Okay, well, draw this up. Let's
Yeah.
see if this works. And that was what was really handy with those chokes is, it's like, okay, let's do this, do that, and that's like I take my guy here and go, "You're my guy till we're done."
staying with
that.
you. Yeah.
Everybody else can go do their thing, but you're with me till
Correct.
we're done.
Correct.
How important is it from chamber to choke? How important is it to clean that barrel and because plastic? A lot of people don't
No,
understand plastic build up over time.
Absolutely.
You can't see it, but you tell me. I mean,
Cleaner's good.
yeah,
Yeah.
You
Cleaning
got
is
it.
good.
Now you thinking so you take your average waterfowl hunter. Guy shoots
I know, they're
60
terrible.
ducks a year and he shoots 150 shells.
It's so simple anymore because you got products out here like
Boar snakes.
Tico tools and boar snakes. And,
you take a
easy.
boar snake and you got gun
take-
scrubber and G96
Or a
right
takes
there.
cordless drill
You
in a
squirt
brush.
it, well, and just run it through. You're done with the boar, and then just spray it down with some of that, like G96 or one of those type products
Yeah.
that'll help on surface.
That's a
shred.
house brand
Wipe it
here,
off.
G96.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah. It's
I've
behind
been-
every counter.
I've been using it for
Not a paid endorsement.
No,
Yeah.
me neither.
Yeah,
Me neither. I wish it was.
Yeah.
But because we've used
Yeah.
tons and tons of it, and it's good stuff because it'll also take off the surface rust.
Yep.
And so like I'm gonna go hunt, and I'm gonna come in. My gun's gonna get wet, dirty, muddy, whatever. It don't take any time to run that through. And most of your guns like a little, spray a little in there, work it out, wipe what's off, and
Sure.
go.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's
It
a simple
is.
yeah.
So I'm terrible about cleaning the gun. I am. I know I'm off, but I handle a gun, my clay gun and my hunting guns. I handle them weekly and most time daily. So if I either bring it in the shop, I get something worked on, or I shoot 300 rounds on a Saturday, I handle the gun a ton, and I just throw it back in the gun slip and put it away. And I feel guilty. It's sitting, underneath the back seat of my truck right now. It's a Krieghoff with rusty chambers. It's driving me crazy.
That's
But-
exactly what you need.
And I'll take you. I'll take you 12 gauge
Carry
brush.
rusted up.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not rust. It's just brown. And I'll put the 4/0 steel wool around the brush, and I'll run it in and out.
Slick
And
it
when
out.
you run it through with the long cleaner rod on the brush, people don't believe how much black wad carbon crust comes out. Or a choke tube shot 100 shells
And different-
changes your whole
and
pattern.
different companies use
Different powders.
that
Yep.
Some are
Yep.
filthy, and
Some of them stink.
some of them stink. Some
yeah.
blow things in your
Correct.
eyes. It's awesome.
Correct. But and I tell people all the time to get back to your choke tubes and your barrel work. Cleanliness can make a huge difference. If you
It-
think
it
you
really
have
does.
you have not shot that choke tube out. You did not. Take it home, clean it. Drill it out. Watch that stuff fall. Donnie Elton told me that a long time ago. He said, clean the choke as best you can clean it. The little brass triangles you buy, all those are great. Clean it.
There was always two tips I always told people when they did. It's like, first off, you don't have to do it every time you go, but
Sure.
screw your choke out, wipe it off, and screw it back in. Especially with some of these newer ones, like that Browning and Vector DS thing.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
real long one.
Yeah.
It's a long one.
Because it actually has, if you're using a factory choke, it'll hold water in there.
Sure.
And it'll rust.
It'll rust
and
them
then
shut.
Yes, it will.
Which we enjoy that because we charge you $150 to cut
Sure.
it out if you need it done.
And
But-
if we
but-
do it here too, we
but
pull them
we'd
out.
rather you did.
Correct.
Right.
You
But-
fight
but-
an easy out bit.
But at that same point, screw it out because eventually, even being, just like ours, 17.4 pH stainless. I mean, that's harsh and heat treated. Over the years, it'll swell, and you'll see
Sure.
some, because your guns, especially like your Krieghoff, a lot of your European guns, your Benellis, your Berettas and stuff, they'll actually swell the end of the barrel for the choke tubes. But your choke tube will actually, shooting steel, if you're duck hunting a lot, we see this a lot. They'll swell that choke tube into that barrel, and then pretty soon that's all they got in there.
Yeah.
And then they'll go to
Or
blowing
they'll,
chokes out.
or they'll get a crack and then won't be able to get it out.
We've
Yep.
had a lot of people goes, hey, look, all we use is your T2 choke. We keep blowing chokes out because it's actually stretched the barrel, not just the choke, it's stretched the barrel.
Yeah.
Which the only thing I
Can
shoot's
you-
been in the gun 2
Can
years.
you weld these in for us? And we do. We'll take them and weld them in. That's all they got.
Yeah.
But
I
there
like
it
it.
goes.
You got your
But-
own fixed choke going. Yeah.
That's one thing, and as many guns and stuff as you guys go through here, one thing that never hurt for you guys behind the counter is tell people when they, during duck season and everything, is you can leave your gun out there in the boat or whatever, the blind, whatever. You can leave your gun, which they normally don't. They'll leave their shells out there. Bring your shells in.
Yeah.
Makes a
Bring
big
that box
difference.
shells
Yeah,
in.
that's right.
Because, just like you was talking about cleanliness on that stuff, we'd go out and clean a barrel like pattern test. Every 3 or 4 shots, clean the barrel, and you notice the patterns are always better, like that.
Oh, yeah.
But same
The turkey
thing on
shoot
that,
guys will show you that.
the blue loads come from your shells. And it's not the shell companies. I'm not
Sure.
picking on them.
Right.
Sometimes it could be,
Sure.
but most of the time it's because they got wet. You let them out there. They stayed cold. You went.
It rained, you
gases,
threw it in my jacket, I
gas
threw it in my
went
blind
around,
bag.
yeah.
Yep.
Boom,
They
there
got
it
frozen, they got wet, they got rusty.
And the
Yeah.
first thing they're going to come to first off, they're going to come and start.
You
it.
come
It's
in the
your
shop
fault.
because I
It's
bought
y'all's
it.
fault.
I cannot believe this $2,200 gun jams.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop right at the door. That's not what happened. Something went wrong somewhere.
Yeah, those weren't made to jam.
Yeah.
Every
Right.
once in a while, it
Yeah.
could be a problem.
And I
but-
know you got a tight schedule. I don't want to.
Oh, no,
where I'm enjoying this. This is
Oh.
nice. What can you tell people about porting a barrel and its pros and cons on ported barrels? 'Cause I shoot a ported barrel gun.
Okay.
I believe in it. Whether it's a placebo or not, I believe that the porting helps.
The only thing I've ever been like, hey, we do better than anybody is porting barrels, but I'll talk you out of it every time. It's
because you're my neighbor in a duck blind.
Nope.
Okay.
No, that's it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Now, if you're shooting
I'm shooting
40
clays. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
But here's what we do differently on porting compared to a lot of like factory ports. First off, we don't drill with a drill. Change the temperature.
EDM
Everything's
or-
all EDM done.
Yep.
But what a lot of people don't understand is they'll make little designs. Anything that's not rounded, they'll have a stress point. So if it's a line or any teardrop look, any of that kind of
Sure.
stuff, you're kind of putting a stress point in that
Sure.
direction.
Putting
Yeah.
a weak spot in it.
But the main thing is we've been through this where you put all these different holes, but the key to it is setting the barrel in at a angle, which I'm not going to go into the degree angle.
Sure.
But so like here's your barrel. Once again, I'm showing so they can
Yeah,
see
it
but
parallel to the
if your
ground.
hole's going through here, it's just coming out. Mm-hmm. It's got to be up on the top 45 quadrant, just like a top fuel dragster. That pushes that car to the ground because they come up at a 45.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, so if you got it up there and you come in straight, it's just going to blow it straight out. But if you come in from this angle,
Make it
if
directional.
if you stick your head inside the barrel, you would notice it's thicker on the front and less on
Sure.
the back, so it's actually catching more and pulling it out.
It gives you a
It actually
muzzle.
works.
It gives you a muzzle brake type
And
effect.
see, that was one of the things that, I mean, for the, like Benelli one, that was been their most popular gun for several years was the waterfowl performance shotgun.
Yeah.
And they were like, we need to port this. And I said, no, don't. Once that was, money-wise, that was
Sure.
stupid on me.
Sure.
But honest-wise, it's not because you get in a pit.
It's a
mine-
performance gun.
Yeah,
Correct.
and if
So-
you're in a pit and I swing over, I'll light you up
Correct.
and you're not real happy.
You and I shooting parallel to each other. It's yours is twice as loud, and it's
Yeah.
not so bad on you. It's
no,
worse on me.
Exactly.
Correct.
100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see it in my shooting. The bigger the shell, the more it helps. The more the porting helps. And I have pigeon porting on all the guns I shoot.
Sure.
It's
I got it.
25 holes on each side of the barrel probably.
Gotcha.
It helps me a lot more on my second shot. Seems like at top barrel, everything's in line. It's taking the relief off of that one. And again, the placebo or not, I believe in it because it's done by a huge company, a porting company. I think it takes a little bite off a gun.
It does. It
Yeah,
will take
and
time.
it keeps that barrel from flipping out of your second shot. Shooting big ounce, eighth ounce, and quarter loads takes a lot out of it. To me,
I
Yep.
agree. And,
Yep.
and plus, here's the thing. If
not
you-
great on hunting guns.
No, but here's another thing. You're shooting hundreds and hundreds of rounds. You might go
A
shoot
day.
500 rounds
Sure,
a day.
sure.
And so I did one, and this was, I can do this work. You got other guys do it, so I can go over, so I can go kill gators.
Yeah.
But through that whole deal, it was like the guy come in and said, "Can you?" And I knew the guy, and he said, "Can you port my barrel? It'll be 5:30 before I get there, or 6 or whatever." I said, "Yeah, I'll stick around," because I knew the guy. I said, "I'll do it." And the whole time he's like, "Have you ever screwed one of these barrels up porting it?" He said, "No, this is a Kragoff." I said, "Well, I know what it is.
Sure.
It's no big deal.
Sure.
It's just a barrel, But
Yeah.
I said, "If you keep asking me, I'm probably going to." But he goes, "No, have you ever screwed one of these up?" And I said, "No, I haven't." I said, "But the thing about it is, I'll probably in my lifetime 500 to 1,000 of them." I said, "But I got I've got 2 guys over here that's probably done 100,000 each."
They do 100 a week.
And
yeah.
they screw them up every once in a while.
Yeah.
But they're doing a lot of them. I said, "But I don't do as many of them, so I'm going to really be on it."
Yeah.
Well, when I got all done, he only wanted the top barrel. And I said, "Why
The
just
second
the top
barrel, second shot.
He goes, "Well, I just need it for." He was actually shooting top barrel first. I get it.
Backwards.
I get it.
He's
I
bass
get it.
backwards
I
anyways.
get it.
Yeah.
But and he also shot some trap, which used the top barrel, which
It's
you
just
would
the
want
top
to shoot
single.
the top barrel
Sure.
on trap.
Sure.
Gets rid of the can.
Yep.
But at that same point, I said, "Why don't you do both?" He goes, "No, just want the one." Once again, it's Kragoff. Your $100 gun.
Sure.
It would look
Looks significantly better.
Of course, he wasn't worried about selling it. And he said, "Well, I just need it for that final shot, take it off." And I'm like, or the first shot, the second shot, it don't matter. And I said, "But at the end of the day, the whole circle I've made here is by doing the porting, if you're going to shoot 100 to 500 rounds or whatever a day, every one of those shots that's hitting you in the face, if you blink, that's a flinch.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, you want to knock it out because you
Correct.
don't want the flinch. You want to
Sure.
take that recoil off.
Sure.
you.
Right.
And when
Well,
it
you
got
had a
done-
4-day clay shoot. The Sunday, it'll start pounding on you.
Well, when I got done, I was putting his chokes back, and because all he brought was a barrel,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "What is this dinosaur T-Rex crap here?" And he goes, "Oh, let me go get the rest of the gun." He said, "You don't know what that is?" And I didn't keep up. It was their gun of the year that year. It had the Oh, it was the most beautiful gun. He brought it in with 24 karat dinosaurs and T-Rex.
Is it a gold, like, Galapagos Island looking
It
thing?
was gorgeous. I said,
150.
thank you for not bringing it in because I would have ruined his barrel. Oh, I'd probably
100 grand,
ban it.
150
Yeah,
grand.
it was 100 and I think he told me at the time. That's been several years back here. It was like 116,000 or something. I was like,
God.
I said, man, I'm so glad you didn't bring that in.
Yeah,
I'd have
yeah.
ruined
You've
it.
been so
No,
happy.
actually, I wouldn't have touched it.
Yeah,
Like, get
you
that
got
out.
it to your best
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Man.
knocked him in the head and stole it from him, but I don't usually
Yeah,
sell
well,
that on the air. I don't want nobody to
116
hear that.
grand at black market, you get 75, it ain't worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Especially if he's a buddy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you guys, I'm sure, go to SHOT Show, so you see,
Yeah.
you see where
It's cool stuff out there. Yeah.
It's amazing stuff,
I
man.
was looking at some $385,000 for a 4-gun set of
Yeah.
Peruzzi's out there. And it's
I was at a shoot.
Wow.
I was at a shoot this July, and a guy had going around the shoot. There's probably 200 shooters there, and he said, "You seen Rob's gun?" I said, "No." He said, "It's cool, man. You want to go check it out?" I see Rob coming. I said, "Hey, man." I said, "I heard you got a good looking gun." "Oh yeah, it's in one of these golf carts somewhere. There's 200 golf carts riding around." So we find it. It's in there. It's a 1-of-1 Krieghoff with him on it. Him on a horse on the side of the gun.
Wow.
And he's
The
letting
gun's full coverage. Oh, this
like
guy had
around here somewhere.
he had 40 of them, but this one had him on it. It was him riding the horse, him as a cowboy. You could see a little detail on his face. Unreal.
It must be nice.
Unreal. And I think that's the other half. I think that's the 1% people talk about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's super cool guy. He said it's in one of these carts somewhere. Gun's probably 70
You know,
grand.
most of those guys are.
Yeah, it's nice as he can
They
be.
really are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And he may or may not have the same worries that I have. Not that he doesn't have any.
He had
but-
them at some point,
Gr-
or he inherited.
He's self-made. He made several really good decisions in his life, and the rest is laid back.
I was up 100 years ago. I was at the U.S. Open in Kennedyville, Maryland, up there, and it rained. It was horrible. It was just mud everywhere. And there was a guy, and he was like the president of U.S. Steel at the time, and he was in there, and he had a Krieghoff there that I think they said the guy that was hunting with him, he was out of California, and the guy that was hunting with him was shooting with him. That we did know. He goes, oh, his wife upgraded the wood, giving an extra $40,000 for the wood on this gun. And so we're sitting there, and I just
40,000.
didn't know this guy from Adam. And I said, yeah, we have a gun shop down there. I said, that's a pretty gun, but if we camo these guns. If you need to take it down there, we can do a camo job on it and all that. And just kept it straight. He looked at me like you're. I mean,
He said, "This ain't pallet wood, brother. This is a real deal." Yeah.
But after the rest of
So
the
it
day,
could probably come out to petrified
we had-
forest or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, we had some of our.
Thought it was
heater-
that extra wood that.
Yeah,
Brad did
it's an
years
extra
ago.
grain. Yeah, it was a laminate wrap. Yeah.
Extra green. Yeah.
We had some of those hillbilly idiots with me.
Yeah.
We were shooting with them. We were out in the mud, which we were taking them around. And he said, I've heard it all. He said, at first I was wanting to kill you guys. He said, he said, just like the guy said he was so hungry. He said, buddy of mine said, man, I'm starving to death. He said, I could eat a coop of chickens. and when he did that, this guy just finally said,
lost
"All
his
I've had
emotion,
it.
yeah.
I've had it." He said, this is,
Y'all got to me. Yeah.
you guys have had fun.
That's cool. Especially you shooting in the rain. You had a big shoot. You got $2,000 going for the weekend. You might as well have a good time. You gonna get wet either way.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
That's
That's
it.
right.
Well, Rob, we got to get you on
Yeah, I
stage.
mean, we're right
at
on
the,
schedule.
Migration Madness.
Right on schedule. We can sit here and talk another 2 hours you want.
I'm ready to dance. Have you got the pole and everything?
Everything, man. We got it.
I'm not used to a stage.
There's a whole lot of guys in there,
Yeah,
so you
there's a lot of
better
people
you
in
better
there.
act right.
You better
But,
perform good.
That's right. Rob, there's a lot of information. Thank
Well,
you
guys,
very
thanks for
much.
letting
Yes,
me-
sir. It's nice to put a face with a name, but your name is your brand, and you represent your brand well. You represent Benelli well, and I'm glad that you represent Green Top as
Yeah,
well.
well,
So thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Yeah,
Yes,
Rob.
sir.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it,
My
Rob.
pleasure.
Rob Roberts, Custom Gun Works. Check him out online. If you haven't heard about him, shame on you.
Yes, you're late.
Yeah, you're late to the
You're
game.
behind.
Yeah.
That's right. Rob, thanks again.
Rob,
brother.
thanks
man,
again.
thank
Yes, sir.
Have a safe trip home.
Will do.
Yep.